This Westside Gun. Well, actually, you know what? Let's go back here. This Westside Gun versus WWE thing. It's my intersection. We got indie rap and wrestling fandom intersecting in a way that's like right close to my heart. It's right close to my heart. Um, and I became aware of this through seeing Westside Gun's Twitter posts. He get one of them really long ones. One of them long ones. I don't know if he pay for Twitter, but like one of them really really long ones, where he's talking about getting kicked out of a WWE show, out of a front row seat in his hometown that he had just paid $5,000 for. Um, and apparently he is severing his relationship with WWE, as you know, even though it is historically a one-sided relationship. He has promoted WWE a lot, especially the history of the WWE slash WWF that he and a lot of us grew up with. Um, he's released 3 projects this year that all have had WWE photographs as the album covers, and apparently he's not doing that anymore. He after he got kicked out of this last show, he changed the last cover from I think it was the $1 Million Man. He changed it to one of the wrestlers from his indie company because he started an independent wrestling company called Fourth Rope Wrestling. Um, One of the main details here that I'm still trying to find, but I haven't been able to get any information on. I cannot find any reason why he was kicked out of this show. Uh, WWE does not have a lot of history of kicking people out of the front row, especially. Those are very expensive seats, and yeah, and I saw that he posted a clip of it too. Like he's saying in the clip, getting kicked out for nothing, but like that seems like a really huge deal and something that WWE, especially in its current corporate form, wouldn't do. Like it seems like that opens them up to all sorts of like litigation, right? Like if somebody paid for a seat and you're kicking them out for no reason, that seems like a silly thing to do on the safe end, and on the risky end, it seems like it could open them up to a lot of litigation. Um, so that is the main piece of information that I would love to find, but I wanted to kind of chronicle the story as it's documented so far and see what people think, and if there's any I guess if there's any more clues that people can provide or information that people have heard. An article I found that so far sort of chronicles where everything is thus far is this one from Cage Side Seats, and I used to be an avid Cage Side Seats reader. I'd say like 10 years ago. You do have to be careful with wrestling news sites because literally anybody can start one, and you can make it look legit, and you can post whatever rumors you think of on there, and then people will run with it far and wide. So you got to be careful with those. I mean, like the bar for entry for creating or writing for a wrestling website is very very low. I used to write for a wrestling website back in the day. I wrote for like they had like an entertainment vertical, but I used to write for them because they were primarily a wrestling website, and that was why I used to read them primarily back in the day. So you got to take wrestling news websites with a grain of salt, but Cage Side Seats is pretty good. Why rapper, promoter, and pro wrestling superfan Westside Gunn is done pushing WWE. He's received multiple takedown notices and was kicked out of Raw for what he says was respectful promotion of WWE. So, this headline is saying he got kicked out for promotion of WWE. But what does that mean? What does that mean? What does it mean? Like, what would he have been doing in the seat? To like, did he have a weird sign? Like, I need more information here. That doesn't make any sense to me. Um. Okay. As he reminded us in a post over the weekend, successful entrepreneur and hip hop artist Westside Gunn has been promoting pro wrestling for most of his career, and usually WWF/E. He's referenced and sampled wrestling in his lyrics, and on album covers showed up in primo seats at tons of televised shows and major events, and even launched his own promotion, Fourth Rope Wrestling. Gunn hasn't always had WWE's blessing to use their intellectual property in his work, however. That resulted in a few legal letters being sent Westside's way. So we'll click this link and see what that means. So this is from 2022. Griselda Records posts takedown notices issued by WWE against Westside Gunn. And that is for these takedown notices, which are for videos and of what I am assuming are actual match footage that he used as music videos. So the way in which he goes about using WWE intellectual property for album covers or for videos, I fuck with it, but I also understand that there's no way that was going to last forever, especially with the status that he has. Like I fuck with it because I fuck with wrestling, obviously. And I know that he's got an album cover that's just like Sid Vicious. It's just a photo of Sid Vicious from a WWE match with a very well lit ring. And you can tell it's like a WWE corporate owned photograph. And Sid Vicious is one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. And in the spirit of like loving wrestling, in the spirit of hip hop, just taking that photo and making it your album cover, I fuck with, right? But it's the sort of thing that you can really only get away with if you're like underground, if you're like really underground. And I know that Griselda and them are independent, but I feel like they're reaching a level of notoriety where we're like doing stuff like that, like taking a WWE corporate photo and associating your product that you are selling on Spotify or on Bank, wherever you're selling it. At some point, it becomes like courting them to tell you to take it down, because when it comes to shit like photographs or shit like matches or whatever it is, like WWE owns it, but the rights to all that shit is very complicated, right? Like if it's a photo, let's say it's that photo with Sid Vicious that was on Westside Gunn's album cover. So WWE owns the photograph, but we don't know what kind of deals WWE has with whoever took the photograph. Like they might need to be consulted, or we don't know what their deal was, whether they were paid one time or if they have future royalty rights on the photo. Sid Vicious is a wrestler who has had a very, while he was alive, because unfortunately he passed away, he had a very combative relationship with WWE. So we don't know what his status with the company was, or what rights he had given or had sold to them. And also, now that he's passed away, we don't know what the estate's involvement is in terms of who has to sign off on this. And it's not necessarily about Catboy asks, what was it hurting though? Not like they're dropping an album or something and Gunn was taking away listens. If anything, you could argue he drove people like. But see, that stuff, that becomes speculation, right? But before you can get to that point, like there's legal issues. Like there's like if you take somebody's intellectual property and apply it to your property, your intellectual property, without permission, you're opening yourself up to legal concerns. And again, what I'm saying is it may not be just as simple as WWE could have pressed a button to say this is okay and didn't. Like, we don't know how complicated these rights might be with these individual pieces of property that, like, yeah, Westside Gunn might like this photo and want to use it. that doesn't mean that WWE is even in a position to be like, yeah, you can do this. Like, and I'm not saying that they are right to do a cease and desist. I'm just saying when it comes to these fucking legal matters, and especially WWE becoming more and more corporate, they often like they don't have a choice if something like this comes to their attention because of how it opens them up to litigation, is what I'm saying. And it's not, I don't think it's necessarily a matter of right and wrong. It's just there becomes a point where if it's corporate, it's like automatic. Like that's just how it goes. And I feel like Westside Gunn knows that. And like I said, it's a very hip hop thing to do. It's just like sampling. You want to rap over some shit, you fucking rap over it. Like that's the spirit of hip hop. But sometimes you got to go to court. Sometimes you get sued. Sometimes it's a cease and desist. There's a risk you take being that hip hop while having that much notoriety. That's why people spend thousands and thousands of dollars to clear samples, because it puts your product in a position where somebody else can be like, no, we don't want that, take it down. And then suddenly you're fucked and not able to sell your product. You know what I'm saying? So like he wasn't going to be able to keep doing that forever is my entire point. So I don't know. I think that's something to keep in mind in all of this as well. Gunn hasn't always had WWE's blessing to use their intellectual property in his work. A few legal letters, and may have been a factor in his being removed from a Raw in his hometown. Like that. I would love for somebody to confirm that was the reason, and to confirm how they could decide that was the reason. Like, I don't necessarily understand how his promotion of WWE, or even him using their intellectual property, could get him kicked out of a show. Like, somebody's got to draw that line, make that connection for me in a way that makes sense. Or else this just seems predatory. It seems like almost illegal. I mean, certainly fucked up. And just weird. It seems weird. Like if somebody, like it's not like he broke in and took somebody's seat and bashed him over the head or some shit. Like he paid his money for the seat. So what does that have to do with anything that he might have going on outside of that show? I don't really get it. Guns released a trio of Heels Have Eyes albums this year. The first in April had a picture of WWE Hall of Famer $10 million Man DiBiase on it. And the August follow-up featured DiBiase's bodyguard Virgil. The third was to have both wrestling legends, but recent promotion for Heels Have Eyes 3 in New York City's Times Square seems to have led to another takedown notice. And so that's this. And see, this is kind of what I'm talking about. Like, so Westside Gunn obviously had the dough to pay for this Times Square promotion of his album cover that had Ted DiBiase and Virgil on it. But I'm saying this is bold as fuck. Like, this is not like the spirit of how this shit is done in hip hop is usually done from the scale of like, yeah, like the person selling bootleg DVDs or CDs out of the back of a trunk, where like it's very hand to hand and like you could get away with a lot more that way. But like, this is a promotional power move that the level of scale this is operating on in terms of visibility and money, you're courting negative attention from a copyright holder when you're doing it like this. So let that be said as well. Like that's kicking beyond the coverage, I would say. So at this point, Triple K, wow, all right, is real, and we know about what WWE is about. Support ASE, support Fourth Row, AW Dynamite. I mean, and that's another thing, right? That's another thing. There is a real kind of crazy level of tribalism going on in pro wrestling right now. Like, it's like Crips and Bloods out here on the internet, like with WWE versus AEW. The AEW obviously being a more sort of indie grassroots, even though they're funded by a billionaire. It's a billionaire who loves wrestling and loves indie wrestling. So there's an indie versus corporate dynamic at play, and people are lining up on both sides with pitchforks and torches and trying to kill each other over some shit that don't none of us own. It gets kind of weird on the internet. It gets kind of weird. Um, so that seems to be at play to some degree here too, because WWE corporate is getting out of control. WWE corporate, like, so it was owned by the McMahon family for years. Um, Vince can't keep his nasty old greasy dick in his pants, so he got kicked off the board after they. This is years after they've gone public, but with his scandals, they couldn't keep him around anymore. He still had a majority stake of stock though, so he wanted to organize a sale so he could get paid. Um, so they partnered with a company called Endeavor, and now they're under this corporate uh, umbrella called TKO. And WWE was a publicly traded company, but they were only corporate in as much as they were a company themselves, right? Even though they had different media endeavors and stuff that they were trying to do, it was just them siloed in a corporation all their own. Now they're under a larger corporate umbrella, so everything about WWE has become more corporate from the top all the way down. And part of what's happening with this Westside Gunn 2 thing as well is that it's becoming part of this discourse around corporate WWE pissing off the fan base, pissing off the supporters, being more concerned with its corporate values than the happiness of the fans. Then, so like one thing they've done is the McMahon family for years and years and years, generations and generations and generations, always kept the ring clear of advertisements. And now that they're corporate owned and this corporation is looking to make money wherever they can, they put various ads on the ring post, the tables that they crush and they suplex and pile drive people through. They put Slim Jim logos all over the tables now. There's a Prime hydration station by the side of the ring for no reason at all. It all looks very cluttered. It all looks very greedy, and greed seems to be the flavor of right now with WWE. Their ticket prices have gone up hundreds of percent since they've become corporate, or more corporate, I should say, where at every turn they're looking to maximize every dollar that they can squeeze out of people, where like people can't even afford to really take their families out to WWE right now because a ticket that used to cost $40 now costs $200. So like now, if you're looking to take your family to WWE, you're paying $1,000, and that's in the bad seats, let alone the good ones, like you said, or like it was shown where Westside Gunn paid $5,000 for his front row seat, and I've heard the tickets for some events going even crazier than that. Like WrestleMania front row tickets are set to be 5 digits now. It's getting really bad. They're pricing out a lot of consumers, like real wrestling supporters, which are a lot of working class people, and they're sort of catering more towards the people who can really afford to pay the most. They've also said that next year's WrestleMania, I think next year's WrestleMania is in Las Vegas, but the WrestleMania after that is in Saudi Arabia, because Saudi Arabia is paying the most money. And, there's a lot of people who have ethical concerns about the business that they do in Saudi Arabia. And stop calling me. Um, and are being confronted with reasons to stop supporting this product. WWE's intertwining with the Republican Party and Trump is giving a lot of people a lot of reasons to stop fucking with this product. And what's happening right now with Westside Gunn, right? Like now you're getting into hip hop fans, like people who really fuck with Westside Gunn and really fuck with wrestling, are seeing how this corporation is treating this guy who obviously loves the product and is giving us another reason to consider, should we keep fucking with this? Pastel, it cost me $1,200 to go to WrestleMania Vegas. $1,200 to go to WrestleMania Vegas night one. Ended up giving the tickets to a homie for cheap. was in the bleachers, went to AW All In for 450 and sat behind Westside. He was probably second row. So yeah, there's a difference in price and difference in the consumer that each product seems to be catering to. Um, yeah, but what if Saudi Arabia has ethical concerns about WWE? I don't understand that question. Um, yeah, Vince is definitely a sex predator and sex pest. Like I had stopped watching for a while behind him and Hogan and all of that. When Vince got kicked out is when I started watching it again. But again, like they're putting me in a position where I'm having to evaluate whether or not I can continue to enjoy this product with these sorts of choices they make. Let's see. And then this is the long post that Westside Gunn wrote. For years, I mean, nobody with 2 feet has spent the amount of money I have supporting and pushing a brand I love since I could remember. I sat front row at every big show, literally all the good times it brought to my life, to the point where I started making music. I incorporated in everything like Wu-Tang did karate. I made people who hated the product watch it again. I made it look cool. When at time people thought it was nerdy. See, tell Benny is nerdy. I've watched the same company sit countless people next to me who's not even fans for real and act like I didn't exist. That was another thing they used to do, or that they've been doing, is that, you know, they'll put Jelly Roll front row and put a camera on him and say, hey, everybody, look, Jelly Roll is here. And Westside Gunn will be there in his seats that he paid for and never give him any acknowledgement at all. I was threatened to take everything out of my music, which I only did to pay homage to, or my whole catalog would be demolished. And everybody knows how hard I work coming from Buffalo. For me to get that threat for just supporting and being a real fan hurt me. But I stayed quiet and still, like a crazy man, sat front row because I love the culture. See, like, and that's the feeling, right? Like when you love something like this and you keep getting evidence that it don't love you back, that's a rough spot to be in. That's a rough fucking spot to be in psychologically and emotionally, where like Westside Gunn is a very successful independent rapper who can do a lot of shit with his money. He could do a lot of shit with his money. The fact that he's choosing to spend it supporting this corporation who continue to show him over and over again that they don't give a fuck whether he lives or dies, I can certainly understand how fucking bad that feels. Yeah, he even just went viral for spending. He spent 50,000 on WrestleMania suites. I think that was last year. He bought 2 suites for 24 grand each. I tried having conversations with one individual because he's causing all of these unnecessary leak cases. And to be honest, he hates seeing a young black successful entrepreneur that could afford those seats and have to watch those chains dance across the screen. To the point, Monday Night Raw starts at 8 p.m. and he was kicked out by 8:03 after spending $5,000 for a seat plus travel hotel in his own city for absolutely nothing. No lie, the kid in me heart broke that day. I put the billboard up, the $1 Million Man billboard up, which he loves. Oh, that's another issue, right? Like Ted DiBiase, the man, might love that. But fuck, man, all this copyright shit, it makes it complicated. Which he loves, and I wanted to push him into culture because he deserves it and show Virgil love for the culture. And he got a letter saying blah, blah, blah. So I said, you know what? I'm going to show love on to the people who show love to me from now on. So you don't have to worry about me pushing that product over there again. It's sad because I still love them. But I have my own company. That's his own wrestling company, Fourth Rope. And yeah, we're the underdogs, but we love this shit. It's not about money. We're going to keep pushing culture, and I'm honored to have Josh Bishop on the trilogy cover because he deserves it. So he's put one of his wrestlers on the cover of Heels Have Eyes 3. There's still more I would like to know about this. There doesn't seem to be information that's available to find out about. This whole thing about him being kicked out, it's just really weird. It's just really weird. It's really weird and aggressively whack. And you hate to see it. Like you know, corporations shit in people's heart that love them all the time. And WWE is at, I mean, I want to say they're at a crossroads. They're beyond the crossroads because they've chosen corporate, and that's the money that they're chasing until they chase all the fucking fans away. Like that's what's ultimately going to come down to. And it's like, it's another situation where business where it used to be very important to have good relationships with fans because the lifeblood, the revenue was the money that fans paid coming through the door. Like That's not where they really get their money from now. They get their money from TV deals. And the TV companies pay them this money because they have people watching. So it's important for WWE to keep people watching, but it's not as important for them as it has been historically to keep people happy on like a very ground level, on like a come to the show level, on like keeping this an affordable and happy experience for people level. Like, you know, because the money's coming from television products or coming from foreign governments or entire cities now are competing with bids to see who can pay the most money for 2 nights of WrestleMania. At that point, their relationships that they're trying to foster are more with the cities or more with these other countries' governments or more with the television networks than they are with the fans. And it really fucking sucks because the wrestling business, the wrestling product, more than any other product that I know about, is really about real emotion from human beings in the crowd. Like, I've seen empty arena matches in the 80s. There were empty arena matches during COVID where they had to put people on LED screens to make it seem like there was a crowd, and it completely fucks up the product when there's no people. It completely fucks it up. And WWE are losing sight of that. It seems like they're losing sight of that. But that's all about that for now, unless some new information comes about. And for those that don't know, this is the morning show. Like and subscribe, homie, friend. It's free. Stop playing.